for one, I just want to say, for the people who are just listening to this, I'm currently wearing my LaMelo Ball Charlotte Hornets jersey. LaMelo was a guy that I had him third on my board, so I don't feel terrible about saying that I missed on him per se. And in issue 1 of the Hardwood magazine, I wrote about LaMelo and whether he was boom or bust, and you could see it going both ways. And he's been boom so far. But in my article, I singled out the Charlotte Hornets as the team that was going to really be able to unlock his talents. They were kind of tailor-made. I even had a Malik Monk reference in there, who's having a little bit of a resurgence. So I'm really excited that while I definitely have my doubts about LaMelo, looking back, I won't be super historically wrong on him. But just as far as rising goes, I think there are levels to it, right? Like, there are guys who jumped up a couple of spots, but if you jumped up from, say 10 to maybe 8 on an updated board, I don't know if it holds as much weight as going from like 3 to 1, right? Like, to jump up to be like, this is the guy that I personally think is best in class. To me, he's been the best rookie so far. Right. And that jump for me from 3 to 1, for me, he holds the most weight, just because of where, he looks like he's headed with this team. How did you feel about LaMelo?
I think LaMelo was tough. LaMelo was hard because watching his Australia stuff, that was some of the hardest, roughest tape to watch ever. Just because I think situationally, him being there, I think they just kind of threw him the reins and were like, hey, just go out and do whatever the hell that you want. And it was nasty. It was really nasty at times. The turnovers were gross. The shot selection at times was nightmarish. Like, some of the stuff that he was doing, it was just like, you wouldn't see that level of play at your local YMCA. Like, he was really doing some nasty stuff. But I think a good way to think about it is, it's almost like he let out all of the bad reps in Australia and brought his best game to the NBA. And as you mentioned, he's been fantastic. And the thing that I really like that you talked about was the fit thing, right? You mentioned Malik Monk, and he's having a great season. But, I mean, them bringing in Gordon Hayward has been like a really steady hand for them. And this is the Gordon Hayward that the Celtics were praying for and waiting for and hoping to get. And we even saw some of this Gordon Hayward last season before he got hurt. And not just Gordon Hayward, but also Terry Rozier has been really freaking good this year for the Hornets. Holy crap, he's been really great. And as we mentioned, Malik Monk's having a great year. Miles Bridges and the connection that LaMelo has with him. So it's crazy, man. I was always high on LaMelo, but his Australia stuff scared the crap out of me. And I was really afraid that he was developing really bad habits and that he was going to bring that to the next level. But from what we've seen, and we're heading into the All-Star break this weekend, from what we've seen, he's been everything but that. And his numbers have been really good. I think one of the really alarming things for me, like, his true shooting percentage right now is 55.8, and he's shooting 80% from the free throw line right now. He shot 72% last year, but I think, Corey, you and I and a lot of analysts, we believe that free throw shooting is a huge tell for how you're going to develop as a shooter. And for him to come into the league and shoot 80% from the free throw line, it's great. He shot 25% from 3 last season in Australia with some really terrible looks, and he's up to 36% this year. And so there's a lot to be excited about. And I guess I could say I was wrong, just that I was really afraid of what he would be. But I'm with you. He's been great. He's been fantastic.
I really feel like Charlotte was the team that he was destined for. Just all the guys and all the pieces you mentioned, it's like every piece they had, save for, Scary Terry, really thrive kind of off ball. Gordon Hayward is very good on ball, but he's also a guy that, once the ball swings, that's when he's really able to get downhill and attack and make things happen. Devontae Graham, as great as he is as a playmaker, he's a guy that he's also able to stretch the floor. PJ Washington as a pick and pop big, Miles Bridges just as a transition threat. I mean, Malik Monk is a guy who catch and shoot, out in transition. Like, all of these things really amplified LaMelo's skills. So, to me, it's like, is it shocking that he's come in and kind of set the world on fire? Not entirely, because the potential was always there. You don't get compared to Luka and Trae Young for no reason. The talent's there. But all of the things that we saw, like you mentioned, on tape, and for me, he showed so much positive there, but there were so much, like, from a talent perspective. But like you mentioned, his defense was bad. He didn't know where to be on defense. It wasn't even so much the turnovers, but it was the early shots very early in the shot clock from, like, way behind the line. Those to me were, like, really what I was afraid of as far as turning the ball over, because he shot them at such a low percentage that it was almost like, okay, well, you're just giving the ball away now, and maybe even in a worse spot because it's a long rebound. Now it's a transition. But Coach Borrego, early in the season, kind of got after him. They didn't hand him the keys to the car right away. They were like, you have to earn this. You're going to come off the bench. We're not giving you the freedom that you had in Australia. You need to play structured and play like an NBA player is supposed to play, or at least one that's going to have success. And he could have folded. He could have taken that personally. He could have pouted and sulked. But he rose up to the challenge, cut his turnovers down, started, shooting better shots. And, now he looks like a guy that I think it'd be crazy to say he shouldn't be the first guy taken on the board if this was a redraft. I think that goes without saying. He's number one.